You won't believe me what I actually ended up doing today. Just because I'm a little ill and not exactly very well in terms of health, I basically ended up pulling out my external DVD drive and I ended up watching all the 8 Fast and Furious movies. You won't believe me. All these films in one single day. And the experience and the entire idea of watching these movies actually gave me a new thought on the Fast and Furious movies. Something that many YouTubers don't exactly want to cover, but I'm going to cover it for you people today. Hey there, guys, how's it going? This is John Matthew, and you're watching CineManiacs 24/7, a channel dedicated to movies, music, physical media, books, video games, and pop culture. Yes, I'm not exactly very good because my health is a bit down for the past 2 3 days, and I'm not really keeping that well. I've got some cold and cough, and also I'm running high on fever. But yet, in spite of all this, I actually ended up making the best out of my ill time. Guess what I did? I actually ended up watching all the 8 Fast and Furious movies on my external DVD drive. All the 8 of these films in one single day, and believe me, the kind of experience that I had watching these movies, I'll tell you every single movie about every single film in just 1 minute or so. The first Fast and Furious movie, absolutely a riot. The OG movie, of course. Japanese cars, check. Hot women, check. Good sequences, check. BT sound score, check. The ending, check. Action sequences, check. This was the first Fast and Furious movie. Absolutely brilliant, and I loved it. The second film, I didn't expect that coming, but yet the opening sequence was fine. The movie was mostly like a James Bond film to me because the villain was absolutely larger than life for any Fast and Furious movie. As far as the first film is concerned, I keep it as a comparative standard here. This movie had a James Bond style villain, a James Bond style story, but of course, a little bit of racing was still involved, and the movie kind of looked okayish for me, but not anywhere close to the first movie, yet an enjoyable flick in its own way. The third movie, unbelievably good. It's funny how I never exactly had a very good impression of the movie the first time I watched it, but it is only after my repetitive watches of the movie I realized this film is way better than what people actually remember. And yes, this movie is way better than people actually remember. Japan, check. The JDM cars, check. The music, check. Drifting, check. Script, story, and acting. I'm sorry, we don't do that here in this movie. We definitely don't do that here in this movie. The ending worked fine, and that's the end of the first 3 movies. The fourth movie, Vin, Paul, Michelle, and Jordana are back. Definitely impressive. Story works well, but not exactly quite well. Sequences, okay. But Dom being Batman does not look okay to me. Definitely not okay. The otherwise cars of the movie, okay, not exactly very cool. And this is where Fast and Furious basically begins to, go down in quality. The ending, mind blowing, of course. Fast 5, the one that completely changed the entire franchise in every possible way. Okay, definitely. Dom and Brian basically stealing $100 million from a police station. Fine, as far as movies go. Music, brilliant. Love the music. The actors from all the previous movies, fine. Good nostalgia bait, after all. And the ending, fabulous. As far as the movies events are concerned, that actually brings the entire film at par with the other films. Okay, that's nice enough for me, but I felt this is the movie that kind of digressed from the path and ended up making Fast and Furious more comic and cartoonic as possible. The sixth film, quite unnecessary. I never even wanted the characters to actually kind of go back into the same shit that they were doing in the previous film. After looting $100 million vault in Rio, they become like what? Government agents trying to basically acquire some high tech stuff that will basically change the world in very evil ways and stuff. This movie suddenly ends up being a Mission Impossible and James Bond type movie right from this junction. But still, this is just a movie that you can watch casually, but I don't like this movie at all. It's okay for action fans, but not okay for me. The seventh movie, of course, I hold emotional significance with the film given that this was Paul Walker's final movie and he passed away even before this film could be completed. Just for Paul Walker, the movie works okay, but logic, senses, family, a big down for me, a big down, and I just don't like the movie at all. It is just a good movie if you want to watch Paul Walker for the last time, but otherwise, sorry, please bail out. The eighth film, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Iceland, submarines, Dwayne Johnson diverting submarines with his hands, Lamborghinis in Iceland, absolutely bullshit. I just don't appreciate that movie at all. And it's funny how these movies ended up digressing so much from their original theme that they ended up being cartoonic versions of themselves. You know, one thing that I just dislike about the Fast and Furious movies is that the way they started out as simple people, as simple street racers who were even afraid to use guns at some point. The abilities that they show in the modern movies, in the recent movies, of course, in Fast and Furious 7, 8, and 9, it is just absolutely absurd to believe. I cannot stand the idea that it was the same Dominic Toretto who had immense amount of remorse and regret for basically beating down Kenny Linder prior to the events of the previous movie. That is the first movie. And the idea that these people were basically truck hijackers driving Honda Civics and illegally racing at night using JDM cars, that was at least grounded and way more believable than the stuff they're doing today. The first few movies never established anything about the gang basically being the superheroes that they are today in the current movies, and that's the reason I dislike the Fast and Furious movies towards the later end. To me, there are only three Fast and Furious movies: The Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, and Too Furious. The rest of the movies don't exist for me. And even, let me make it a little more better, the first Fast and Furious movie is the only Fast and Furious movie. Tokyo Drift is a thing of its own. Too Fast, Too Furious is only Brian's continuation. If you want to ever see Brian's character arc post the first movie, that film can definitely be given a watch. This is my entire, opinions about the Fast and Furious series. That ninth movie is absolutely bonkers. I'm going to talk about it some other day. Till that time, guys, take care, stay safe, bye bye. Keep buying movies on physical media because that's the way we can protect movies for longer time. Stay safe, keep safe, Happy New Year, and Godspeed.